Social media has pretty much ruined many aspects of my life. Instead of waking up every morning, ready to take on the world and pursue my dreams, I end up feeling like I spent the entire night being sucked the life out of by a succubus, which pretty much leaves the rest of most of my days bombarded with feelings of dread, emptiness, and nihilism. For a long time I've been spiraling in this circle of shame, while feeling depressed, anxious, and unable to break away. It just felt so hard to do anything productive or fulfilling, while we're all so deep-rooted, enslaved, and encapsulated in this world of endless dopamine. Here's my story. I've had a terrible social media addiction for most of my teenage and adult life. And like all cliche backstories, this left me a little socially awkward and unambitious. It's safe to say that living a life like this sucks, and I wanted to change that, so I took a step back from the world and became somewhat of an outcast to basically fix my life. In this video, I wanted to share with you everything that I've learned about social media's soul-sucking effects and how to break away in order for you to take control of your life, in case you feel lost like I do.
Hey Bob, put a spin on this.
My personal view on the terrorists is that they are disgusting, degrading, ghastly, sleazy, purient, and generally nauseating. The worst of them is Dante. The whole world would benefit greatly by his non-existence.
Social media can be classified as toxic because scientists and health experts have determined that excessive use of it leads to mental health problems, such as anxiety and depression, especially in teens and young adults. Although social media has made an insane global impact over the recent years, by allowing us to share ideas, embrace our creative muse, and most importantly, connect with other people, it still stands out to be one of the most toxic environments ever created, and a lethal weapon that's held against your mental health. The phenomenon that started about 20 years ago, with popular apps like MySpace and Facebook, has helped us build a lucrative social experience and an identity online. As the internet evolved, social media gave a lot of ordinary people the ability to publicize themselves, to the point of reaching influencer status and giving them the ability to creatively make a full-time income online. According to ethworb.com, there are between 3.2 to 37.8 million influencers in the world between Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. So how exactly is social media toxic? Over the recent years, the use of social media has been increasing, leading to people spending most of their spare time online. Most of the people who do are teenagers and young adults. We pretty much facilitate our identity and our innate behavior on the internet than we do in real life nowadays. This can lead to bullying, dopamine toxifying content, and an over-exaggerated social presence. What I personally hate about it is how it causes a lot of divide and conflict within us due to lack of respect when it comes to our different backgrounds, opinions, and views, and as people are becoming more and more overly sensitive in order to protect what they've attached their self-esteem to. People tend to abuse these facets, sometimes ignorantly, in order to gain popularity and attention online, despite how lethal the consequences may be. This behavior that has seemingly become normal has various studies that have shown that the higher the social media use and the exposure to these elements has increased the likelihood of people feeling anxious, depressed, or lonely. It has been shown to increase the risk of self-harm and suicide, according to liberties.eu.
Now what we have here is some truly shocking footage of the terrorist, known as Dante, at the Bellevue Pier recently. So what do we know about this Dante? Several people have now come forward, and investigators have pieced together a shocking history of violence.
I saw one girl, beg for her life, but, he said he was gonna kill her anyway.
Because we spend about 3 to 11 hours a day on our phones on average, research shows that doing something like this repeatedly for an extended amount of time may cause psychological changes to the brain. According to neurogrow.com, through a process called variable ratio reinforcement, which allows you to be hooked to content, has an adverse effect on your brain. This means whatever you watch consistently, given that we spend an average of 3 to 11 hours a day on social media, has the ability to change the structure of our brain and how it processes information. Heavy social media users are said to perform worse on cognitive tests, especially on the tasks that involve multitasking, as compared to those who use social media lightly. This means it takes a lot more effort for social media users to maintain their focus during distractions. The article goes on to talk about how the heavy social media user's brain shrinks the part of it that relate to maintaining attention. This change is called neuroplasticity, and it has an impact on your attention and cognitive skills. Because of social media's highlights of constant dopamine hits, which is a hormone that releases every time you feel like you got a reward. Studies showed that because of social media's addiction rate, the brain scans of heavy social media users look very similar to those addicted to drugs or gambling. Studies show that heavy social media use can change the processes in your brain, some of which are linked to memory deficits, especially in your transitive memory. Transitive memory in this case is a kind of memory that involves deciding what information is important enough to keep in the brain and what information can be outsourced. Due to several experiments done on participants, it showed that heavy social media users may also experience long-term deficits in the size and function of their brain.
I interrupt this broadcast to bring you breaking news. The terrorist organization responsible for the recent attacks has been located and is being stormed by SWAT teams as I speak. 2 of the terrorists identified in these images are known to be in the compound.
Bastards.
Social media has a lot of qualities that are both positive and negative that can affect your mental and physical health. I did some research to showcase some of the negative ones. Based on my experience and what I've read on the internet, it turns out that people who spend too much time on the internet, especially on social network sites, will probably result in poor mental health, which is mainly parlayed with symptoms of anxiety and depression. Based on their sophisticated algorithms, social media showcases the best aspects of its counterparts to keep you on their platforms. This may include publicizing people who may appear to have it better than you, which will inevitably lead you to start comparing yourself to these perfect figures. This personally made me feel like I wasn't good enough, like I was somewhat worthless in a sense. This also led to feelings of nihilism. Because of the ability to become anonymous online, this has led to a lot of egregious and insensitive behavior. A prime example is cyberbullying, because it's easy to express yourself on the internet without a lot of consequences, due to the ability to access fake profiles and keeping your identity under wraps. This leads to a lot of manipulative behavior that potentially hurts other people and even scarred them for life. Something I felt guilty for is having irregular sleeping patterns due to spending too much time on social media. According to makeyousof.com, numerous studies have shown that increased use of social media has a negative effect on the quality of your sleep. As I've mentioned before, because of social media's complex algorithms that are designed to keep you on their platforms, it's really easy to find yourself on social media longer than you should. Sometimes at irregular hours like 2 a.m. in the morning just to check notifications on Instagram. If you want to learn more about unhealthy sleeping patterns like insomnia and how to deal with them, I've made a separate video that showcases how meditation has an impact on your sleep. It's no mistake if we're to conclude that social media is probably way more addictive than smoking and drinking alcohol, because of its impact and easy access. In my own experience, I found it very challenging to stay off it in order to do a dopamine detox. This is something that allows me to reset my brain and help me to only focus on what's important. But I would always cave in and relapse due to my lack of discipline. It's always easy to pop back in when you see a notification on some app, and next thing you know, you've spiraled down all of them. The best way that I've found when it comes to dealing with this problem is completely deleting your social media apps and limit your access to your phone or your computer. Because of its easy access to people all around the world and the ability to make conversation, it's a lot easier for us to neglect the real people who are present in our lives. When I was scrolling on my phone all the time back in school and work, I found myself having poor relationships with the people that surrounded me. This pretty much led to having poor social skills and unnerving social awkwardness. It took me a while to appreciate real life conversations. People are actually more sincere and authentic. What's unbeatable about real-life social interactions is that being physically present with someone offers a level of comfort and support that social media can't. Social media has a soul-crushing way of distracting you from your goals and sometimes destroying them completely, because of its element of stimulating our dopamine to disgusting levels, which makes us more lethargic and slow, leaving us with little to no energy to pursue our goals nor what excites us in life. Excessive use of social media can leave our motivation on ground zero, because it takes a lot of willpower to put some time aside and do something self-beneficial consistently over time. With everybody nowadays replicating each other, it's hard to find any creative original ideas. What you see eventually becomes predictable, what you like, what you do, and ultimately who you are. This becomes incredibly dark when the narrative comes from a toxic environment, where you find yourself imitating the worst aspects of human behavior. Creativity requires independent thinking and being able to rationalize perspectives. This can only be done by clear-cut focus that isn't easily manipulated or influenced by anyone. Because of how easy it is to portray any persona you would like on social media, people tend to exaggerate what their lives are like, only showcasing the high points of their life. This leads to a lot of imitation and competition within our peers. We inevitably end up comparing ourselves with other people. According to lifehack.org, people who use social media sites like Facebook most often had poorer trait self-esteem, which was mediated by greater exposure to social life comparisons on social media.
Has been cornered in another part of the city in a separate police raid. Rest assured, those responsible will be brought to justice at any moment, dead or alive. This is Bob Barbas of the Raptor News Network. Just doing God's work.
The best combination I've found to help when it comes to stopping your social media addiction is combining the concept of dopamine detox and embracing consistency with meditation. Dopamine detox reduces the short-term effects of addiction, and meditation helps you strengthen your focus and willpower in the long term. A dopamine detox is essentially a practice of reducing your dependency on certain stimuli. For example, staying away from rewarding behavior like sugar, video games, and social media. The goal of this is to unhinge yourself from reflexive, addictive behaviors, like constantly checking your phone for notifications or scrolling on social media when you're bored. A doctor named Cameron Seppa used the concept of dopamine fast or detox with his patients. Most of his methods were based on cognitive behavioral therapy. Dr. Cameron identifies the following compulsive behaviors to be the target of his dopamine detox. According to Dr. Cameron's practice, by fasting from these activities that trigger the brain's neurotransmitters, people become less dependent on these emotional hits that dopamine provides, which can sometimes lead to dependence or addiction. Meditation, on the other hand, helps when it comes to centering yourself into the present moment. Most of people's thoughts are centered around the past or the future. This pretty much creates a lot of stress, anxiety, and escapism, which explains why we're always obsessed with instant gratification. Dopamine hits help us forget a little about the impending nightmares that are right in front of us or lay at the back of our minds. Meditation is also a great habit in general because it helps us with concepts like reducing stress hormones as well as sharpening our focus. The best way to stop and regulate your social media addiction is applying a dopamine detox and short-term inferences and meditation as a lifelong hobby.
Breaking news, Bob. You're fired.
In order to stop your social media addiction, be sure to go through the following relayed steps. Start by deleting all your social media apps and disabling your notifications and emails. Stay away from high dopamine related activities like video games, junk food, and movies or television to avoid reflexive addictive behaviors. Stay away from your phone or computer if possible and start engaging with low dopamine activities like reading a book or spending time outside. Start picking up new hobbies to occupy your time. These will help you replace your old ones over time. Practice meditation every day for at least 5 to 10 minutes. You can start with simple breath exercises or by simply sitting down and paying attention to your thoughts. After every single time you meditate, start journaling your experience as well as tracking your practice. Go through this entire process for 7 days straight and compare the results after the process is over to see if you feel any different before the detox. As an end statement, the way that social media has ruined my life is quite devastating, but it's pretty reassuring that there's at least a way to break away and take control of my life. And concepts like dopamine detox and meditation have helped me a ton. I hope this video has helped you gain perspective and given you the optimism to take control of your own life as well.